Laika was more than my savior. In the months following Tol's overthrow and the Myenk revolution, she became my constant friend and companion. And as for her adventures beneath the earth, extraordinary. But that is perhaps a story for another day. Of course, the axis mundi is not always a clock. Some people think of it as a pillar or a tree, a ladder or even a lighthouse. Some even think of it as the navel of the world. How strange. My navel, on the other hand, is full of fluff. Although excavating it is sometimes an adventure in itself. Ah, the planet of time. Rivers of infinity, lakes of lastingness, great plains of epochs and eras stretching as far as the eye could see. As the son of a humble Chasavchik, it touched me deeply. I love to tinker and build. I once made a fully operational shaving machine for face and body from the parts of an old Moskvich. But it was nothing to the magical crystal-powered rocket ship that Toll constructed. A waterfall of time is as sweet as opportunity-filled Varniki. I believe that was Pridurkin once again. What a mind. Did you know that Laika was not a thoroughbred, but a scrappy little mongrel from Moscow's alleyways? A bradyaga. Space was not conquered by a great military expedition, but a brave stray with an appetite for adventure. Meeting her was the proudest moment of my journey. The general and I corresponded for some years before he retired. He would tell me about his bees, and I tell him stories of my adventure that there wasn't time to cover when I first returned. I never did find out if he really believed my story. But he asked after Laika in every letter, and she was always very excited when I read them aloud to her. I am no glory hunter, but I do hope that when they write the history books, one day I will take my place alongside comrades Gagarin, Tsitsov, and Tereshkova. I went down, whereas they went up. But perhaps my mission was the most heroic of them all, if you consider it deeply. Of course, 3 years is a long time to remember, and it was a long and complicated story, as I explained to the general. I find myself still sketching down parts of my journey to keep them in order. Perhaps one day I will be able to share these sketches with the world. Aunt Agrafina might have been brilliant, but her timekeeping was absolutely dreadful. We joked that she'd even be late for her own funeral. A joke that proved both ironic and tragic, as it turned out. I know a great deal about cloaks as a result of my upbringing. You would, I suspect, be hard-pushed to find a cosmonaut able to explain their intricacies to an audience. I have sent several letters to the Moscow University Horology Society suggesting a series of lectures. One day, I hope to return to Perun and visit those windmills once again. Imagine the scale, the density, the sheer volume of bread they could produce. Bukhanka so large they could house entire families and feed them for years. If I attached wheels to such a loaf and towed it to the surface, I could make my fortune touring from village to village and exhibiting its vast yeasty wonder. There is a particularly fine smoke windmill in a mildly boggy field just outside Volgograd, within shouting distance of a small Stalovia that serves possibly the finest Selyotka Padshuboy one could wish for. A pleasant afternoon's visit if you are ever in the area. What a brute! How could such a handsome visage be transformed into such a monster? For 6 weeks afterwards, I avoided all mirrors, and finally grew back my deeply missed mustache to avoid any resemblance. Such wonder to soar untethered through the air like a kindly goose. One day, perhaps we will all learn to fly, and the skies over Moscow will be filled with the swooping laughter of children and their pets. A portly, piscine contraption it might have been, but it flew through the sky with the grace and speed of a Gaz-21 Volga. When going downhill, of course. My cousin Yelena was struck by lightning once, whilst foolishly balancing on a chicken depot on her farm near the banks of the tranquil Sagoja. Luckily, she survived, but in later years would infuriate her husband with her ability to detune his television using the mysterious power of her electrified brain.
Guten Tag, ihr Leid. Als kleiner Bonus, weil ich ja immer wieder sah, wie man die Bonus-Episode da macht. Das hier ist so ein Orb, den man finden kann. Ich renne hier gerade im Astronautenkostüm rum, ja. Das gibt es halt auch noch freizuschalten, wenn man Orbs findet, wenn man die Level zum zweiten Mal spielt oder so, finde ich halt eine gewisse Anzahl von den leuchtenden Dinger. Stell dich da hin, drückst du X. Und wenn du das dann sehen willst, kannst du noch gleich A drücken. Und dann labert der da noch ein bisschen was. So,
One day, I hope to
ja, das wollen wir jetzt aber nicht angucken. Ich wollte es euch halt einfach nur zeigen, dass man da dann halt so Sachen freischaltet. Was ich euch auch noch zeigen kennt, ist die Kostüme selbst. Moment, Belohnungen, Sina. Outfits. Das haben wir gerade auch. Dann gibt es noch das Dino-Kostüm. Das da. Also das da Robokostüm, das gab es in Sanikovaland. Und hier, Laika. Das ist cool. Und halt das ganz normale. So, ich bleib mal bei dem, weil es lustig ist. So, das wollte ich euch nur gesagt haben. Also wie das ist, hänge ich jetzt halt hin ans Video von dem Bonusvideo. Wer das noch gucken will, wie das aussieht, kann ja nicht sein, dass ich einfach nur drüber erzähle und zeige, was man kriegt, wenn man so Sachen insammelt, sondern halt auch mal zeige, wie das aussieht, wenn man sowas insammelt. In diesem Sinne dann, ihr Leid, ich spiele jetzt noch ein bisschen weiter. Ich muss so noch 4 von deinen Orbs sammeln. Viel Spaß. Viel Spaß mit weiteren Leben. Ich habe jetzt auch noch viel Spaß. Seid tschüss. An der Wolle können wir mal bei mir gucken, was es nice gibt, was ich nice spiele. Kann ich euch noch nicht sagen, weiß ich immer noch nicht. Ob ihr leid. Tschö.